Boom, here we go. So let's see. I'm going to start with Ruth, please. This question is going to go to all three of them, but I would like to start with Ruth. First up, what is the one piece of advice that you wish that you had received when you first started, and why?
The first thing that I did when I became a realtor, I was going to every showing, and even if they were qualified or not qualified. So a lot of the time, this doesn't really pertain to the how my success is going towards my business, but it just pertains to how much time I wasted on clients that weren't pre-qualified. And it was the thought of, if I at least show them the house, then there's a chance that I'm gonna, might be able to get this client. And don't get me wrong, there was a few that I did show them the house first, and I was able to get them qualified and we bought the home. But the majority of them wasted my time. So instead of using the time to show these people houses, I could have been prospecting and go after it in a different route. So I feel like, because when you're new, you're trying to get everything, you're trying to get anything you can find.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it. Once I became a realtor, I just accepted anything and just went to showings. So I wasted gas money. I wasted my time with my family. And I felt like that's one of the things that I could have put I should have put a stop to, like, from the very beginning. Like, if they're not pre-approved, then I'm not going to show them the houses. There's times where it can be an exception, but in a lot of the times, I wasted a lot of time where I could have just been using for prospecting.
Okay. Follow-up questions. Thank you for that. So you're saying that a piece of advice that you would give the agents is to not waste time on on the unqualified leads. So take that extra few minutes to see if they truly are qualified before you dive in and fully commit to showings. How long do you think you were licensed or going through that not recommended practice before you realized you're like, oh crap, I'm wasting time?
I would say for the first year. I mean,
Really?
I've only been
Okay.
Yes, because I was, I had like a mentality of, I want to get a client. I want to get a client. And I felt like, when it's just that if I have one client that wasn't pre-approved during the time of showing and then became pre-approved, then it just gave me a justification of having to show another person that's not qualified a house. So my second transaction was a person that wasn't qualified, wasn't pre-approved yet, and I showed them houses. And then she pre-approved herself right after, and we had bought one of the homes. So it wasn't like you're 100% wasting your time, but it's just the fact that so many of people are. And you have to pretty much check you have to qualify them, ask them these questions. And if they're just there to see houses and things like that, you can put that one, like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to go see it. At least that there's certain, I'm not going to go show you houses just because you might want to buy a house.
Okay.
Because at the same time, you got to you just have to value your own time. And that's the thing that I wasn't doing. You have to value your own time, the time that you would have spent with your family, the time you would have been with your husband or whatever. Value that more than trying to accommodate for these clients all the time.
Thank you for that. And what does that qualification process look like for you now? So you're aware that you had made that mistake. I'm assuming, and hopefully rightfully so, that you've put things in place so that you don't continue doing that. So you have a qualification process now? Is it a deeper questionnaire? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, when I talk to the client, I talk to them, usually, like I mentioned to you yesterday, I get like Opcity leads, which is leads from Realtor. I get leads from Redfin, and I get leads from Zillow, like different routes. And most of these are buyer leads. So a lot of these leads are people that are looking to look at a home. And I have to ask some questions in regards to, first of them, I said, oh, I'm excited that you're looking for a home. And I'm more than happy to show you the process. So we talked about a little bit about the house, but then I just start kind of questioning them exactly like, okay, so before we look at the house, are you pre-approved? And if they're not, I'm like, so have you been working on it? And then they say yes or no. And then I asked a little bit more to see exactly if they're trying to work around you, like trying to just see a house. There's some people that said, well, I've seen houses without being pre-approved many times, and other realtors have given me issues. Well, like, well, I'm not going to be that realtor. I'm not. I've seen a lot of houses and I wasted my time. So I don't,
Yeah.
there's so many fishes in the sea. I just don't want to waste my time on people that don't treat you fairly,
Mhm.
treat you, because, you know, like you have to value yourself and they should value the work that you're putting in to show you the house. It's not like
Yeah.
we're just door openers, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I really like that. So hopefully you guys got something from that. I'm going to shift. We're coming back to Ruth for other questions, but now I'm going to shift. Alethea, I saw you put your window down. So are you in a position where you can talk, my love, or do you want me to go to
I am.
bed? Okay.
It was
Well, then
perfect
same
timing.
question for you right now. What's the one piece of advice that you wish you had received when you first started and why?
I'm going to hit kind of with what Ruth said with qualification, but more or less on my lead generation. So
Okay.
I feel like I was kind of just going for everything to lead generate with Op City, with going to networking events. So I think that I wish somebody would have said kind of what we done on these calls. These are the lead generating that you can do. Pick one, pick two, and just stick to it. Because now I think that I've hounded so well into my open houses this year, but my first year was kind of like Ruth. I was like, just kind of like throwing and seeing whatever would stick. And if that worked, great, I would do it a couple more times, but I was all over the place. So I feel like if somebody would have just said, okay, Lethea, you like open houses, then do open houses every month. Just only do that, right? And if you like networking, then go to 2 networking events every month, but then only do those 2 and write it off with consistency for a whole year to really say, okay, this worked, or no, this didn't work. And I say that too because I've had a closing every month because of my open houses. And it slowed down when I wasn't doing my open houses.
Yeah.
So that immediately was easy for me to see, like, that was working. Don't do that to yourself. So yeah, I think that would be my main.
Yeah.
Pick
Okay.
one
So
and stick to it.
thank you. So you said that you spent about that first year kind of, and not necessarily chasing leads, but chasing lead sources and trying all of the things, shiny object syndrome, which a lot of us new agents get. We're like, what? That works for Liz? Oh my God, I've got to try it. Or that works for Jamal. Sign me up. I want to do it too. And so you feel like you wasted time with that because you didn't invest the right amount of time to see things
Correct.
to fruition.
And I didn't do something. So it's okay to be out of your comfort zone, right? So that goes with the open houses, door knocking, because it wasn't something like, oh, I absolutely want to go do that. So it was uncomfortable, but it was a piece of the system to my open house. So I knew, okay, I love open houses though. Like my personality is really good for open houses. I can be myself doing open houses. So yeah, I feel like if you were able to find that one lead gen that you felt like in your heart you didn't hate doing every day, or could focus on doing, and then there'd be something in there that was uncomfortable, which would be for me my door knocking. Then I of course got better at it, but it's a part of the growth, right? So you want some piece of it to be uncomfortable so that you can get better at it or see something else work.
Thank you. One last question for you on it. Out of curiosity, what do you think would be like the shortest amount of time that you had ever spent on the one? Like you said, you hopped around, you tried things for like maybe once or twice, and then you switched to something else. What do you think your shortest amount of investment time into any lead source was?
I would say the shortest, and this was because of referral and relationship. I met with some really cool agents in Tampa that were EXP family. I kept a relationship with 2 of them, and she sent me 2 referrals that I closed. So I felt like that was like super easy, super, like, to me, that was like, that's what I get from like being friends with somebody so cool. And it was a day or 2 of time. So yeah, I feel like that was probably the shortest.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming back to you for other questions. Des, same question, my dear. What's the one piece of advice you wish that you had received when you first started and why?
Okay, so when you're new, they're like, tell everybody that you're in real estate, right? Don't be a secret agent. But there's a good way and a bad way to do that. So
I like
I wish
that.
they would have told me you know, when you reach out to your sphere and you let them know that you got your license, don't let that be the only reason and the one thing that you talk about. Be genuine when you connect with the people that you're going back to talk with. And that goes way further than like, hey, I'm new, I'm in real estate, you know, like send me your people. Do you want to buy or sell? That's a big turnoff. And it's the fastest way to kill your database. So don't do that. And just be genuine with your people. And if I would have learned also when I started doing open houses, I love to talk to people about anything. But if I would have learned, and Liz taught me this, how to diagnose people right away because I'm the expert and really guide them through the process, kind of like how Ruth was saying to pre-qualify people, I would have gotten a lot more people a lot further, a lot faster. So learn the process, learn what it takes, how to pre-qualify people and guide people where they're at in that process.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel like you ladies are awesome. And I sent them the questions, sidebar for everyone. I sent them the questions, right? And in answering question 1, they also answered question number 2. So for ladies, when you're looking at your questions, question number 2, I want you to use a different example now, because now we all know the answer for this. Okay. The second question was, what mistake did you make early on that you want to caution other new agents about? And we've kind of started hearing a little bit about that, not pre-qualifying them, not committing to 1 or 2 lead sources, not just blasting, hey, give me all your people, like Des said. It's not just, do you know anyone looking to buy or sell, right off the bat as soon as they answer the phone. So not using those examples as one of the early mistakes that you made. Give me another one that you want to caution others on. Ruth, are you able to come back? Maybe. There you are.
I'm thinking about it because it's pretty much going to go back towards what I said.
Yeah.
Come follow back on me. I'm going to ask my husband because he actually like watches everything I do.
I love that. Okay.
Kind of like checks everything I do. So I'm gonna ask him what's my mistake, and then I'll kind of like think about it, and then I'll get back to you.
Okay. Okay. Alethea, babe, do you have another? Because to be fair, we're all going to make mistakes. We're human. And as new agents, there are so many things that we have to learn. It is okay to not know everything. So when you don't know everything, you are bound to make mistakes of some kind. So please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to rub our agents in their faces in their mistakes and be like, tell us all the things you did wrong. No, it's really just like hey, these can usually be simple and common mistakes. So let's just nip those in the buds. Alethea, babe, do you have another like snap?
So one of my challenges were, I don't know if it was necessarily a mistake. So I'll answer it differently if it's not, but analysis paralysis. So I'm one that I like to know what I'm talking about. So I feel like for the first like 2.5, 3 months, instead of me figuring out that lead source, I was like, let me read up on this. Let me get into this class. Let me figure out this. Let me understand this. How do I need to negotiate this? Like it was wanting to know everything before I even talked to people. Like before I even was pre-qualifying it all. Like,
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a small mistake too, because it was not even believing that I knew what I was doing. And then I got on these calls and people would reassure that you learn as you go and you won't know what you don't know until you get to that moment where those questions come. So I feel like one of my mistakes was kind of like I said, kind of digging my head into a computer and trying to learn and go to all these classes and not necessarily applying the action behind whatever it was that I was learning. So then this would go back into my lead gen, right? Because then of course, since I was doing that, I wasn't actively finding a lead gen that worked for me. So I think that was one of my biggest mistakes to begin with. And then if that doesn't really answer a mistake part, I would say my biggest one that I feel like I've done really well with the last few months, or at least this year of 2023, is my schedule. So I came from a 9 to 5, which I always knew. I clocked in, at 8:45, 15 minutes, I got myself ready. And then 9 o'clock, I was just doing my work until 5 o'clock with no distractions. It was very easy for me. And for those first 6 months of me being a realtor, it was like, I have freedom. I don't have a micromanager. Like I used to be the manager in the office, so I didn't even have micromanaging. So it was like a click in my head too. Like, what you would do for that 9 to 5 job is what you would need to do for your real estate business times it by 10. So I just feel like my mistake was not taking it as serious as a job as it would be getting hired for somebody.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And Liz put something into the chat. We're going to change mistake to biggest opportunity. And so that's what it was for you. They weren't necessarily mistakes. They were opportunities for you to grow. And thank you for that. Good job. Ruth, you came back.
Yes, I asked my husband and he gave me a really good one.
Okay, so what is not necessarily, because Liz is changing our vernacular with this. So we're not going to say that this was a mistake, but a big opportunity for you.
Okay, I would say mine would be a big learning curve, learning experience. One of the big learning experience that I needed to do was follow up with my clients. I've lost several transactions because I didn't follow up with my clients. And it's a shame because I'm gonna just give you an example. One of my, even if you're under contract with that person, on the contract, even if you have a listing with that person, it doesn't mean that you're like, okay, you list it and then that's it. So in the scenario that I had was, I had a land listed and it was a $24,000 land. So I'm thinking to myself, like, whatever, like it's not as big of a deal compared to having a residential where you are looking to, do more marketing. You're going to do open houses, you're doing mailers, you're doing all that fun stuff to bring out the listing. Whereas a $24,000 house, you really can't go to the max on the marketing because you're really going to lose money on that transaction if you were to do all the same stuff. And besides, it's just land. So it just sits there, So in that specific transaction, I did a cold call. I did Zillow. I'll go to Zillow for sell by owners. I looked it up on the region that I live, and I called them and I asked them if I could list their property. And they said, yes, I have 2 lots for sale. I'm willing to go to you. So that was great. Now, when I listed the property, it was a little bit overpriced. So I didn't really get any calls at all. So what happened? I just left it there. Come to find out, like after 4 to 5 months, I just told them, listen, the listing is about to expire. She didn't respond to me, but the next day, she put their own house for sale that was right next door to my land that I have on the market. And the house was for $350,000. So because I didn't have that constant communication with my seller, I lost on a transaction. And then it goes a lot to where you have, it might be Zillow leads, it might be Opcity, whatever leads that you have, that at one point they were thinking about buying a house and they said they don't want to, they don't want to buy it right now because you don't have that constant follow-up, a reminder to let them know that, hey, I'm your realtor, don't forget about me, call them to see how they're doing. If there's any questions they have about their, whatever that you can do to help, you don't constantly remind them, they're going to forget about you. And I've had like 3 to 4 of them that I have I forgot about, let go under the rug, and then they have worked with another agent and they closed. So, I'm not really hurt by it. It's just, at that time I was, because I know that it was my mistake for not doing my part. But that was, to me, I felt like if you don't follow up with clients, even though they might be like a dead lead right there, they're, if they had an intention of buying at one point, they're going to buy eventually. It's just that you didn't catch them at the right time. You have to nurture them so that they can think of you to buy it when they really are in the right time. So because of that, I was able to learn most of the time. I learned from my mistake. And have kept contact with a few of them, and I was able to actually catch them in the right time. And one client took me about 6 or 7 months for me to actually close on a home. I told Tiffany, like, it was a lead that I had. She's been looking for a house for like over a year. Different agents going by. She's looking at everything. None of the agents was loyal to her. None of the agents were like trying to keep track of her, So I was, when she contacted me at the beginning, we looked at a house, she didn't like it. A few months passed by. I said, how you doing? Are you still looking? She said, yeah. So I showed her some houses, sent her, but she didn't get anything. She went for a small little land. because she was thinking about building, and then she transitioned of just buying a house. And then just a month later, I showed her another house. And yeah, I'm just sending it to her through her texting to her, here, this is one that you
Yeah.
might like. She saw it, she put an offer in, and we got it under contract. And it took me 7 months for constant following up with that client.
So you saw the difference between the two
Yeah, following
opportunities,
up makes a difference.
those two different opportunities that you had. You realize the difference in not only your follow-up, but then in the results and the actions you took. Des, your next biggest opportunities.
Well, those were great. So the biggest opportunities, I would say I did maybe like 90% of the GPS checklist. And then I didn't do Hell Week. I skipped over it. Because that's the part where you have to go out and evaluate 6 houses a week and do 2 CMAs. And I was like, oh crap, I'm not ready for that. I don't know how to do that. Where do I even start? And I was so nervous, kind of like what Alethea said, analysis paralysis, that I was like, okay, I'll just do anything else but the hard part, right? Anything uncomfortable. I'm going to skip that and just go to something else because there's so much to do, right? So I'll just learn anything else. But if I would have just did Hell Week, got through those evaluation, that was week 2. I would have like, seriously, month 1, I would have already known more than a lot of people here because I would have already been doing CMAs, all that stuff. I really started doing open houses now for about 5 months. So, imagine if I would have started month 1. I think that has been my biggest opportunity right there, is to know CMAs and stuff like that and be delivering those right when I started, because it's something that I know how to do as an expert in my market. So I would say, if you don't know how to do those, get on it. And that would be my biggest opportunity.
Thank you for that. And what a wonderful plug. I'm going to take a second because that GPS checklist is okay. When I first started with GPS, that spreadsheet was like 2 tabs and ugly. That's the nicest way I could describe it. 2 tabs and ugly. Now it's a beast. For those who don't like checklists, it's probably still ugly, but the value and the content that we put in there for our new agents is truly phenomenal. That entire new agent tab is truly how to get you from 6 months learning into, like Des said, that 1 month, because we do throw everything at you. It does tell you, go out and do like 6 CMAs, do showings, do CMAs, write contracts. And as a new agent, your eyes are going cross looking at those contracts. And you're also like, but it's not real. The opportunity is real. Okay. That Hell Week transaction might not be real, but the opportunity is very much real, and it's there for you to go at your own pace. So if you guys haven't had a chance to go through it, especially if you are still considered an emerging agent, please go through it now. You will realize that your knowledge and your system is probably not where you think you are. Liz, go for it.
Hi guys, I was also just gonna throw in there, I've been stressing this with my team as well, is if you just got your license, do your post-licensing. Swear to God, everything that you do in your post-licensing is actually what you're gonna do in the field. So if you can, get your post-licensing done ASAP. And license renewal for Florida agents are coming up in September. So if you know that your license is about to expire, make sure you do that. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Ruth says, oh my gosh, I'm doing it now.
No, that's so true,
Starting
Liz.
hard.
When I did my post, I was like, why did not half of this information go in our course for our regular exam? And then that should have definitely been a requirement, actually a lot sooner, because it made things make sense way faster. Thanks, Liz, for throwing that out there.
Very much so. It's not only a recap, but it actually takes you further into the stuff you're supposed to know and the things that you do day to day. Thanks for that little plug. Okay, moving on, because I also have other people that I wanted to have chime in. on this in just a bit. Okay, so next one. I'm going to ask, what 3 challenges, professional or personal, did you encounter that helped shape you as an agent? And I say this because a lot of times we will say, well, you know, Liz did it, but she doesn't have my circumstances, or Des is doing this, but it's different for her. She's in a different market, or I have this going on, so it's harder for me. And I'm not doubting that you have your own challenges, everyone, that you don't have a full plate already. But this question was to show you guys that we each have our own things that help us be great in our own ways. Okay. So when some people are like, well, so-and-so has such a nice nurturing personality, maybe it's because they've got kids. Maybe not. Probably not. It's probably the opposite. I'm the opposite. Because I have kids, I'm like, I can only nurture so much. But regardless, that is my question. Okay. What 3 challenges, and if you can't think of 3, that's okay. But what 3 challenges, professional or personal, did you encounter that helped shape you as an agent? Des, I'm gonna start with you. I know I went.
This was
You
the
were-
one question I read it and I was like, okay, skip. Because there I go again, right? Skipping the hard stuff. I'm working on it. Okay, I already forgot the question. Sorry. What were my challenges?
Yeah. What challenges? Because for you, they might be challenges, or for others, because it really, something that's a challenge for you might not be a challenge for me. But for you, what has helped shape you to become the agent that you are? Is it because you have kids? Is it because, you had to start over in a new market like Liz? What helped shape you?
I think it was, I didn't grow up with a lot of resources. So I had to figure everything out at a young age.
Mhm.
And it made me very resourceful. And I learned how to make things happen. So I can turn that now into my real estate world. And I've had a ton of different jobs because I've worked since I was 14. So I'm adaptable. And I think like just being, those things are, I don't know, my biggest assets, because I can take anything thrown at me.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. See, it wasn't that hard, Des.
Right? I just had to think about it.
Ruth, same question, dear. What is currently, or what has helped shape you to be the agent?
What has
you
helped me
are?
was when I first became an agent, I told my husband that I wasn't going to go back to work. So I try to put the mentality that, and this is our income. My work was my income. There was no other there was no plan B, C, A, so if I told him, if I were to do 3 transactions within 3 months, I was going to quit my job. So I just gave birth. Literally 2 weeks after, I went to real estate and I told them I'm going to go all in and not looking back. So I had to be hungry for the job. I had to be hungry in real estate in order for me to be able to be successful, so that I don't have to go back to my 9-to-5 job. So I went through a lot of, mistakes doing this. I went through like wasting my time and with like clients, like I mentioned, but because I was very hungry, I'm trying to make this job successful and not having a plan B, because I didn't want to have to go back to my job. I didn't let that be an option. So I just went straight. So within the 3 months, I did make my goal and I didn't go back to work. And this is our income, like my real estate business. Now my husband, he helped to shape it as even better, because he's a resource that I use for anything that needs to be fixed. So as a way, he helped me shape me as a realtor, because he kind of tells me my mistakes, tells me like everything that I need to work on. But also he supports me by doing my photography professionally. He does all the handyman work. He fixes the roof for my clients, fixes whatever condition that needs to be done in inspection. My husband's right there doing it. I'm like, husband, I needed you to go now. Next day, he's already there.
I love
And
that.
fixing it, of course, that's his business, fixing and all that stuff. But I say like having a partnership with somebody that can help you. It might not be your husband, but it could be somebody else that can help you, that helps pushes you to be a better agent, helps you shape as a good one. But yeah, my biggest challenge was to not having a plan B. And then another challenge is what I have encountered as a real estate was, yes, one business feeding another. That's definitely true. Is having to deal with the hell week every month. I've had like
Right.
so many
You
bad
have.
transactions.
You have.
When I say bad, I had so many like stressful transactions that I have called Robert, like, I don't know how many times a month. I didn't go through Hell Week with Robert specifically. I mean, I tried to, but I just didn't have, I didn't want to go into it like the way she's the other person said. But I went through every transaction possible. I didn't know what hard money was. I found out that day that it's not cash, and I just had a huge transaction about that. I realized that there's some realtors that they will take advantage of you if you're new, and you have to really be like tough. And because of that realtor, I've learned how to be very tough. I've learned that, I've learned so many transactions that have happened that kind of shapes you to know, like, you need to be very well equipped. You need to know your stuff. You need to have Robert. No, you need to have Robert. No, but like you need to, and if you have any questions, you go talk to your broker. Like you have to be very professional. You can't have but these legal terms like the contingency, the financial contingency. If you don't extend your financial contingency, there's a chance you're going to lose your deposit for your buyers. Those type of things I learned as I went, and a lot of them I didn't have any issues in terms of, I didn't backfire on me. I didn't like none of my clients were upset with me per se. But I learned that from that transaction, I learned how to maneuver another transaction. So with the one that was tough on me, there was a client that was like me at that situation, and it was like me, like they looked like they were new, and I was have to be tough on that person because I learned from the other transaction, and you have to represent your client 100%. So that's one of the things that shaped you was my crazy transaction.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sidebar for you guys, her transactions that first time were so crazy. Robert was calling me saying, I think Ruth is hell weeking me. And I said, what? He said, yes, this is the situation she brought. And I said, is this real? He said, very much so. We've got to help her. So yes.
Yeah, I was like, Robert, at 11 p.m. at night, I was calling him and telling him, listen, I am so stressed. This agent says that she's gonna sue my clients, this and that. And then like he calmed me down. And then he told me that, a lot of agents, they do that. Just come to find out that agent says that she's gonna sue everybody for whatever reason. So she was just using that term very loosely.
Yeah, no, one thing that I picked up on that you said you kind of slipped in is that every transaction has kind of helped shape you because you've learned from every single transaction. I don't know if the rest of you guys caught that, but she did slip that in, and that was awesome. Thank you for that. You guys we have to adapt. That's something Des says. That's one of her greatest skill sets is being able to adapt. And we have to be able to adapt. We have to be willing to learn and grow. With every transaction, there's a learning moment. Okay, moving on. Last question. No, wait. Alethea, you're driving again, though. Were you able to?
I can talk.
Yeah. Give me your 3, babe.
Multitasking, the life of a mother. So that was what I was going to say in this answer.
Right.
Was that my biggest challenge is somewhat like Ruth as well. This is my only income. There is no plan B, C, D, E, none of that. And I got 3 teenagers and myself, of course, to feed and everything. So I feel like it has shaped me from my previous jobs as customer service and really, I'd say hugely in customer service, because I feel like really behind any transaction seller or buyer, as long as the customer service is on point, I feel like everything kind of trickles down from that. But I would say knowing that this is it. This is what I wanted to do. This is my job. This is what we're going to do to eat next month, the years from here. And then having the girls, because honestly, it's pretty prideful. I have my girls tell their friends that I do real estate all the time. And it wasn't too long ago, I'd say like 2 weeks ago, we were dropping my daughter off at her friend's and they have a new address. And she said it. She's like, "Ah, they didn't even tell me they were moving." And I'm like, right, girl, I'm gonna need you to get more into the business. You know what I'm saying? Because they need assistance. So it was really cool just knowing that that they look at it like that too. Like, wow, that's super cool. Like that's what my mom
Yeah.
does. And then I'm just there for them. So that was a big deal for me, was being able to do what I just did right now. I just dropped all of my kids off this morning and my
Yeah.
day is filled, and it's along the schedule that I've learned to have with them and my real estate business with my clients. So letting them know, hey, because I am a family person, or because I have kids too, I can fluctuate my schedule to fit yours as well. So again, goes right back to customer service and kind of the history on that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is my last question for all, and then I'm going to start just picking on people because I want to hear from more. Last one. How do you plan to stay ahead of the game and set yourself apart from other agents in your market? Ruth. I'm sorry. I know I said Ruth, and then I looked over and she had turned her camera off. Sorry. Ruth, how do you plan to stay ahead of the game and set yourself apart from other agents in your market?
Okay, in my market, a lot of the realtors, a lot are like those small brokerages that they're
Mhm.
like old school. They don't really they're not really, they don't do anything modern at this point. So the way I do my business now, I do social media a lot. I've gained several leads from social media, and it's the good thing about that is that it's free.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be focusing more on listings than having to do with buyers. I used to use Zillow leads, and my conversion rate was fine. I did make money off of it. It was, like I did profit. It wasn't like a loss or anything like that, but I wanted to focus more on sellers and buyers.
Mhm.
So I'm doing those boxes that Natasha have recommended us in the past. I'm going to be using I'm going to use that as my door knocking or delivery in terms of the sellers that are thinking that potentially selling their home, the homeowners potentially selling their home. So my focus is going to be doing listings. And the way I've set myself apart is, when I do my listings, I do it with I do it with pride. Pretty much I take the photography because my husband's a photographer. I do the professional photography, I'll do the drone, I'll make sure that I'll market market in every level. So that way I'll be able to stand out. Stand out versus the other realtors. Because the other realtors, they just do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So it's easy for my market to stand out.
And guys,
Now,
I
also,
know Ruth, she's not just saying that. She actually does know and can see the marketing plan by the other listing agents. This is not her just throwing shade at them saying, oh, they don't do nothing. No, they truly just put it into the MLS, put a sign in the yard, and that's it. That is what she has experienced.
and then for my business itself, sure, you can follow me. The business myself, like I told everybody, you have to be hungry and have, like for me, I have to have a goal set in order for me to grow. So last year, my goal was to reach cap and beat my husband's number. He told me that I was only going to be able to make 10 transactions. So I told him I was going to do 25. And that was like a competition for me. And I made 28. Okay. So this year I was going to do icon. So that's the way I push myself is to put a goal in there and try to achieve it and do all the steps that's needed. For instance, if I'm going to do cold calling, do cold calling. If I'm going to do door knocking, do it. And those were my two probably things that I'm going to be focusing on is door knocking, cold calling, yard sales, like get in front of the people and try to get the listings and things. And then our partners, because I think like 3 or 4 people that are transaction now are from referrals from EXP. And so I just get involved with this, getting as many referrals. I don't care about 3%. I don't care. As long as we get a transaction done, that's all that matters to me. And I take advantage of those free I would say free initial. Me, you know, if I do get a trend 1 or 2 from there, I'll take it. But myself to do the prospecting, yeah, I'm gonna be doing the call calling and the follow-ups and also the door knocking.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. Awesome. And Vivia wants to know where she can follow you. I'm assuming that means like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, those things. So I'll let you guys talk about that in the chat.
I'll put it in there.
Oh,
Alethea, same question. How do you plan to stay ahead of the game and set yourself apart from other agents in your market?
so I'm going to tell you what I've been working on, my little secret. So I don't know if a lot of you knew, but a year prior to getting my license, which is another reason I got my license, is I was only dealing with off-market properties, people who were in distressed situations. So a lot of it was door knocking, but it was a different type of door knocking. It was I knew those were the addresses I was going to. So that's actually what I'm going to be doing. I have yet to even door knock my neighborhood. With that, I know that nobody else is doing it either in my neighborhood. So I'm going to plan to dominate just my farming area, but my real focus is my open houses and off-market properties. So I'm looking for people who are in distressed situations. And that's pretty much what Ruth was saying, my cold calling and door knocking. That was my first listing, just so you guys know, was a pre-foreclosure. Before I got my license, I actually had to give 2 pre-foreclosures to agents and they weren't able to give me a referral fee. So that's what pushed me to get my license, because now I have the ability to help in any situation, right? And it goes right back to customer service. I just want to give the service. That's it, you know? So yeah, that's how I'm going to plan to be the different one.
Thank you. Thank you. Same question for you, Des.
I'm going to be consistent and just keep doing more open houses. I think George said 20 weekends of open houses. I have 40 weekends of open houses on my calendar, and I've hit pretty much every one of them except for like when, you know, family emergency happened, but it just gets rescheduled on the calendar. So I would just say by being consistent, because most people aren't, and doing the work that most people don't want to do.
Thank you.
Which is the open houses and everything that goes with it.
I'm so proud. Okay. Officially, that was the end of the questions, and that's the end of the formal panel. Thank you, ladies, so much. There are a few of you guys that I want to pick on. So huge round of applause. Thank you so much. Your insight was exactly what I wanted to provide, and you guys had just took it and ran with it. So thank you so much for taking time out of your days and sharing, because I know some of these questions weren't easy to sit there and reflect on. You're like, damn it, Tiffany, why are you asking it that? Like, why? You can't just ask me what my favorite lead source is. Geez, no, I wanted to get to nitty gritty stuff. So thank you. You guys just went with the flow. Shannon, my dear, are you able to come off of mute? Because Shannon and I also had a conversation about this a few days ago, and I knew I wanted her to pull her into this as well. As a new agent, what is one piece of advice that you wish you had received earlier on, and why?
I came in under another brokerage, and I came in automatically on the team. And I wish I had gotten a contract in place, because you don't know what you don't know. And unfortunately, things did not go very well at all. So I brought transactions to the table, and it just wasn't pretty. I don't want to, as you guys say, throw too much shade. It was a bad experience. I, however, feel strongly about being on a team, because I know that being a new agent, there's so much that you are learning about just being an agent, and having a good, strong team leader can help you immensely. I like the camaraderie. I like the teamwork on transactions. I like having someone I can call when I need help, who's there for me, who I feel like has my back in the truest of senses. I find it very valuable. But do the research when you speak to someone who's going to be your team leader. See that you guys are on the same page, that you think alike, that you want the same goals, that you want the same everything with regards to, I mean, it's your business. So if I had learned what I know now, because I am on an awesome team and I'm very appreciative and I'm being shown what it's like to be on a good team. And if you have any questions or looking for a team leader, we have a lot in GPS that are awesome.
We definitely do. We definitely do have some amazing team leaders in here for sure. I try to emulate all of them at once, and it's tough. It's tough. Holly, yes. I just was looking in the chat. Ruth did, and Ruth is still on the call. She said that her husband said a number of 10. Said something about like, yeah, let's see if you can close 10 houses. She
Yeah,
said,
he
I'm
said
gonna
I
do
could do 10.
25, and then she sold 28.
Good grief. And I'm sorry, I was late, y'all. Where did most of those come from? What was the best lead source from those?
I would say about 1/3 of it came from referral leads, the op city.
Okay.
1/3, and then the 2/3 came from just personal referrals from clients, and I would say one or two of them was from Zillow leads, but like, you didn't give me any leads.
Is that hubby?
Yeah, he's over there. He's saying that that it was my husband. Okay, yeah, they didn't give me anything. They didn't give anything that went through. I would say one of the best I was able to get leads, and I know Liz like dominates in this way, is when you get listings, you do open houses, but I know I've gotten one of my transactions I did from sold.com. I was able to get that one from cold calling, and several of them was cold calling. So I would say cold calling was another really good aspect of me getting from this market. It's really good. I cold call and I was able to get this client listing. When I got this listing, I did an open house and I put my signs all over the place. So what it shown in my small town was that, I was going beyond like what any other agent does in my market. But it also the house next door saw that and then saw that I was able to sell at price point. So that specific person, that person, didn't contact me. The house that I sold told me he's thinking about selling, you should contact them. I went to that person's house. He didn't answer the door. I went to the person's house again. He didn't answer the door. I was getting frustrated. The third time I went, they answered, and it was the wife. And the wife, when she was there, she said, my husband handled all these transactions, and I had the comparables. And this is how I was doing. I have so I was like, I heard that you were selling your house. I'm just bringing you a comparables to see if they might help you. Well, my husband does a transaction and he works. I'm like, okay, he works in Royals. If you want to drop it off to his job, you can. So you know what? I'm going to go the extra mile and I'm going to freaking drop it off at his job. So I went to his job. I gave it to the assistant and I gave it to that person. And it took him like about 2 months after he called me back from that comparable that I dropped off in his job. And I door knocked previously. And he said, listen, my neighbor said that you're selling your house and I just got your comparables. I want to hear from you. So I went to him. I did the listing presentation. He tried to drop my commission much lower and I try to hold my ground, and I did. And I was able to, it was a $500,000 house. And I was able to get that listing. And then from that listing, I got another client from doing an open house. And that other client gave me 3 listings, or gave me 3 transactions, a buyer, a seller, and a rental. So
Huge.
you see
We're
like
going
how
the
it
extra
just
mile.
drops.
Going
So
the
it just went
extra
from one.
mile. Liz,
And
I have a
then
question.
And then the open house, just before I finished the open house, I did signs everywhere. And one of the other realtors, one of the other houses saw my sign. They called me and told me, hey, I want you to do a listing because I see your signs all over the place and you're marketing that home. So I got another listing from that.
Wow. What was the production for the 28 transactions?
What do you mean by that? The production?
What was the sales, your total sales dollar
I think it was close to 3 to 4.
3 to 4 mil?
Yeah. I didn't check.
Cool. Awesome. So if you can get more of those 500,000s in that price range, imagine
I
that.
got 2 transactions that were, one of them was 500 and the other one was 600 for my first year. Everything else was pretty below that. Now, I know Liz have a question, but this year I have 14 transactions so far. And I've already capped because 2 of my transaction was the 500 and then the 740. So I think those were my highest 2. I think like the highest amount was my 740. All right, I know Liz, you were gonna ask a question. You're raising your hand, so I just will
It was
Wait. You muted
Sorry,
yourself.
guys. I'm so sorry. I was gonna say, a rule of thumb that I want all of you guys to keep in mind, it's for every listing that you get, you should get 1 new listing and 3 new buyers. That should be your conversion rate every single time. And if you're doing it right. If you get more, it's because you're doing it right. If you're doing less, if you're not getting any additional listings or any additional buyers, then that's a problem. So 1 new listing, 3 new buyers for every listing you put on the market. So hopefully that helps you to see why Ruth was getting so much business, because she was doing it right.
And this is also why they say list to last, because one buyer doesn't produce other transactions typically, but a listing does. Listings make babies. Any other questions for you guys? Because then I'm gonna go pick on someone else. I mean, call
Oh,
on.
you
Yes.
said,
I
Ruth
want to know
said
how.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, Holly.
did Ruth say that? Oh, no. Real quick, did Ruth say that she was going to yard sales?
She did.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought about estate sales because obviously someone's passed away. So whenever, and I already love going to estate sales. So when I'm there, I usually ask, but so far it hasn't, they've already like either sold it or it's like after the fact, right? So, but yard sales. So what's the strategy there?
Well, yard sales is just getting a lot of, you get nurture leads, but then you do get some that can possibly, they're potentially selling, they're thinking about selling it today. Like for instance, a lot of them, they when I do yard sales, I told them, hey, they're doing the yard sales. So what I do is I video cam the yard sale. Like I'll do a story of the yard sale, and then I'll put it on my social media. And then I tell them, can I get your information? If there's anybody that's interested in buying anything from your yard sale, I'll contact you. And that way you can, get some, things sold. So what that helps, it helps sells the clients, you're helping them. You're generally helping them sell things for their yard sale. You're getting their information, and then you can use that information to nurture them for the future. I mean, it's a nurture game, but it's also a potential, like, you grow a relationship with that seller or homeowner that probably are going to potentially sell. And there's many of them that are thinking of selling because they're getting rid of their stuff. Some of them already had a realtor and now they're selling because they're already under contract, things like that. But one client of mine, unfortunately, before we were able to put in the market, he passed away, but he was going to sell his house and he had me as his realtor. And it was a shame that he, obviously it was a shame that he passed away. It was such a sad story, but he had a huge yard sale. We went to it. He said he was going to sell his house. I talked to him. I got the listing. Everything went fine. And then his wife passed away a year ago, and I guess, I don't know, he was depressed and I don't know what happened, but he passed away right after. So I didn't get the listing, obviously, for the situation, but it comes to show that it can work. There's people are getting rid of their things, and some of them are getting rid of it just to do a cleanup, and you can get their information to nurture them. Eventually they might want to sell, or they might want to sell right there and then, and you caught the person right on time. I know that Jessica was not Jessica. I know somebody was asking about my Op City. I don't know if she's still there, but initially when I first started doing Op City, the conversion was much higher. They were that was last year in the beginning of January. The conversion was much higher. That's when the market was still good. Eventually, it started to slow down. But I did this, that's when I started real estate. So I went to almost every showing. I went to almost everything. And, eventually I got a several transaction on that. Now, I know I have one from Op City that is planning on selling in my neighborhood, and I'm nurturing them to, as soon as they give me the go, we're gonna sell it. But I did get like 4 to 5 transactions from Op City. And one of them was land, a few of them were manufactured homes, and then I got like 4 to 5 transactions from Op City last year. Now my favorite is Redfin.
Yeah, I've heard Redfin people, that's their favorite, but you do have to qualify for that. So you qualified, but
You do have
yeah.
to qualify for that,
Yeah.
but guys, you can try or just see what those qualifications are. Because I will say I met with a Redfin broker last week, I think it was, and he said it is stupid the amount of leads that they're getting in, to the point that their Redfin is doing something right in terms of their marketing and their pay-per-clicks, because the leads they're pulling in are great and they're pulling in a lot. And the way Redfin qualifies them, they have ISA, it's like actual people, it's not just a form or a questionnaire, it's an ISA qualifying them before those leads are distributed. And because Redfin has so little agent count, they are now turning to others that qualify, like Ruth, and giving those leads. So don't sleep on Redfin, you better check it out.
I'll try again. I've got Clever, which they do give good leads, but man, oh man, I just realized the listing that you have to, when you get a listing, you have to take no more than 1.5% on your side. The total, you can only ask for 4.5%, 3% for buyers, 1.5% for you. So that sucks.
What
But
was that? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name of that one.
Clever.
Okay.
I don't even know how I got signed up for that, to be honest with you. It's like magically appeared, and they just sent me a buyer one day, and now I'm in their system. I don't know how it happened, but I did have a really good listing appointment yesterday for them. Hopefully I get it. They do send 3 for them to interview.
3 agents?
Yes.
Okay.
So and then you pay 30% plus the 1.5. So it ain't just the 1.5 that you have to take. You still have to give Clever 30%. It's not the best, but it's a $650,000 home. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay. Well, did you have a question? Because I can cut this to after party. Just wondering, because Deb does usually throw down some shit that deserves to be an after party and not recorded.
Right, I know it. I could tell you guys all about my prison transaction if you want, but that's funny. But Ruth, where did she go? Did she leave? No, seriously, they give me like, they want to get a $10,000 trailer and like into a trailer park, which I don't care, that whatever floats your boat, we'll go to the trailer park. But the people who are selling these trailers don't want to work with other realtors, or they don't even give you a referral fee or anything like that. So it's like, they're like, no, give me the name and cut you out. And I'm like, look, I don't really care what the commission is. It could literally be $1 because I will give the 30% of that $1 away. I just need something that says that I earned a commission. And they're like, nope, sorry, we're not giving that to you. So I feel like I'm hitting a brick wall. Like Holly said, a time suck. So I'm just like, how did it work? There she is. She's there. How did it work for you, Ruth? Like, seriously, did you get like the listing? You must have got 3 listings and somebody bought the land or something, because let me tell you what, I have wanted this to work, and it is not.
What are you talking about? I missed the whole part when I logged off.
Oh, okay. Op City. That they only give me like 10,000, like they want to buy a $10,000 trailer in a trailer park, and the people who have that listing don't want to work with other realtors. They don't want to give you a commission at all. Maybe if anything, a referral fee.
I don't have that issue. I mean, the type of transactions that I've gotten from Op City, remember this was from last year because I haven't been using Op City much this year.
Okay.
But the last year, I'm gonna explain to you my transaction. I had a transaction, a manufactured home. And the funny thing is that her name is Ania. The very first op city that I had was a person that wasn't qualified initially. I mean, not that qualified, but she didn't even get her approval letter. She just wanted to see houses. I showed her houses and she got qualified with my preferred lender. And then this was my second transaction, like my legit second transaction. And she got qualified. We went to the transaction, we put the offer in, etc., and then it went through. I just got the little the notification that there's an op city, and I click it right away. Initially, usually for op city, for it to work, you have to like use the actual their app to communicate. You got to use their app to communicate. You got to use their app to talk on the phone, because it kind of brings in the quality of leads higher. If you use their app and then you text through your own phone, then they can't take account of that, and then they will give you credit for it. So if you're going to use OpCity as one of your sources of getting buyer leads, because I wouldn't depend on it for sellers. It's you need to use the app to call them and to use them, and then consistently you would have to update every single time that it's going to be due, and consistently be on top of it. Like if it shows that you're following up with them on the app, which in a sense I guess you should, but not like every week, but whatever, it tells you, it will show you that you're an agent that is consistently trying to take care of the clients, and then they'll start giving you better referrals. So initially, as you start off, they should be giving you decent referrals depending on the location. Like I said, my location, I don't have many of the competition that does that kind of stuff. So I kind of have an advantage, but in the sense of yours, you have to kind of show yourself differently than the other agents by getting involved in the app. Like I like OpCity to get started. I wouldn't use OpCity for your business. Like it's just like, it's like if you get one, great. If you don't, well, you're not depending on it. So if you want to depend on it and make it into a certain thing, you have to be more proactive using their app and following up and all that stuff. But like I'm not focusing on these apps as much as I am. I mean, last year I tried to use many apps to try to get me transaction. Like I said, I was pretty like, I don't want to say desperate, but I was hungry to get any transaction. So the referral fee is 335%. And there's nothing wrong, because you wouldn't have got that client anyways. So you should be thankful regardless of whatever you get. But I would prefer getting a client that I work for myself and get the full commission. So, but if you are going to go towards OpCity, Redfin, or whatever, you need to work on their apps, follow up, text through their apps, call through the app. It kind of brings up your quality of leads. And then the leads, I just initially they just called me, I answered them, and then I just showed them houses, and then I just got the transaction. It wasn't really that difficult.
And on that note, all I'm going to do is stop the recording.